Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel, where I've lived for many years, and I want to just remind everybody I don't sell anything on the channel. I don't sell prepper survival equipment. I actually tell people if you're concerned about this, which I don't think you should be very concerned, but let's say you're worried, they tell you there's going to be a hurricane hitting, the power will go out, the water will go bad, and this and that. You don't need survival food, okay? What you do is you buy metal canned food. You buy whatever you want, peas and carrots. You can get beef in the cans. You could get chicken in the cans, tuna fish, sardines, salmon, corn, beans, asparagus, whatever you want, right? These canned foods, there's people on YouTube that have tested these things and ate out of them, and some of them go back to World War II. I've even seen them go back previous. Now if you're concerned, I mean, if you're following me, you're looking for months or something like that, But I mean, any of these canned foods are going to give you 2, 3, 4, probably 5 years. And you could rotate them if you're concerned. You could, keep them a year and then eat them and then replace them. I mean, you don't need this survival food that these people are selling you. They're making a fortune on it, okay? The survival food is dehydrated food in plastic tubs, and they tell you it'll last 25 years in a plastic tub. I have doubts, but maybe. And they have no water. You need water in there, okay? And I don't know what the nutrition level of dehydrated food when you add water into it is, but I would much rather have the real food in a can. The other advantage is when you're eating we're talking survival times, bad days. When you're eating, let's say, peas and carrots in a can, it's got water in there that all the nutrients have seeped into over the time it's canned. And you drink the water as well as that. Okay, if you need water, buy 5 and 10 gallon jerry cans, right? And just use a hose or your sinks or whatever, or your bathtub, and fill them up with water. You don't have to buy their stuff, It's silly, You can use if you buy bottled water, use your old bottles of water and just fill them up with tap water. If you're worried about, cooking, there's a million things you could do. You can buy bags of charcoal briquettes and get a grill. You can use solar cooking devices. You can make these little stoves out of bricks and put a few small pieces of wood in there and get your cooking done. There's a million things you could do. You don't need these people. They're selling you stuff you don't need. Okay? Period. That's the reality of this. All right? I don't sell anything. And while I use Patreon, I don't have any setup where if you commit to pledging so much money a month, you could see special videos that no one else can see. And if you pledge more, you see, I don't do any of that. The scripture says, freely you have received, and freely you shall give. So I give freely, but, I need the support of the people, which is very difficult to get. But I do have some faithful people that do support, okay? Now, what we're going to cover today is the situations in the world, which there's a lot of big things. We're going to talk about the Venezuelan gangs in Colorado, and now they're in New York, and it appears that's why these Army and the Marine guys were appearing in front of hotels, not for the Trump trial. It's because of these Venezuelan gangs, TDA, I think it's A gang, TDA, whatever that stands for in Spanish, are doing crimes in New York City and taking over these hotels that they're housing migrants in and I believe they're taking apartments over and they're trying to recruit Venezuelan immigrants. Now, to scare you, Venezuela had 29 million people, and then they sent out of the country 7 million people, most of whom came to America, many of whom were out of the jails. Now, Venezuela does not have 7 million people in jail. They couldn't do anything like that. I don't know how many were in the jails. Now, this is an old trick Castro did to Cuba. Sent the mental institutions and, criminally insane. You're not going to send catatonics and, the people that are so violent and deranged that they sent them to Cuba. And, you're not going to send suicide people. Some of these people are nuts. Serial killers, serial rapists, very violent people. What's wrong, Chief? Chief, what's the matter? Oh, he's making noises. Never heard him do that before. Chief, you okay? Chief? Oh, he's moving around. I think his leg's sore or something. I don't know. Chief? Let's pray for Chief, that Chief would be okay and heal up quicker. Please pray for Chief the dog to be okay and heal up quicker. I don't know what his noises are. I think he's just grunting, but I don't think it's respiratory. It seems to have stopped after the prayer. Okay. And America is still telling us that Iran is ready to attack any day. 6 Israeli hostages were killed 48 or 72 hours. I believe after Netanyahu said he's not leaving the Rafah crossing. They killed 6 hostages, and the report is they got shot. The scuttlebutt in Israel is that it was so, I don't know the right word, mutilated that they had terrible difficulty recognizing which hostages they were. And Biden said, assumptively one was an American, and Biden said that he said that Hamas will pay for that. So this is the beginning. It's not the beginning, it's the middle of the road on Biden turning against Hamas. The first turn was the peace treaty, and he's saying they rejected the peace treaty. They're the ones who's making it not happen, Hamas. So he's very frustrated and he's angry at them. Now, I'm going to talk about strikes in Israel and the heat being turned up and what's going to happen. The people in Israel are very, very mad. America is taking the wrong approach with Iran, but in their minds it's the right approach, and that approach is, we'll defend Israel. So what does that tell Iran? It tells Iran they can assemble thousands of missiles, do a big launch of missiles and drones on Israel from Iraq, from Syria, from Iran, and whatever gets in, gets in. America's not going to do anything to us. What do we care? So if we're lucky and we damage Israel, it's great. And if we don't, so what? I'm telling you, they're going to be wrong this time. And Ukraine launched 150 something, 54, 58 drones into various locations in Russia, and Russia seemed to have shut down a lot of them, but they were targeting Moscow and other things as well. I don't think Russia sustained much significant damage as a result of this. At least that's what I'm picking up. If you want, news on Ukraine and Russia, I give you the key points. I don't do deep dives into that. I'm here to teach the prophecies of Israel, and I talk about the nations as well as it affects Israel in prophecy. Ukraine and Russia, not really very relevant, but I do touch on it, okay? So basically, what I should tell you right now is the sleeper agents in America have begun. They began the other day when they attacked that military base twice in one night in, where was it, Texas, and now they're taking over apartments and hotels in Aurora, Colorado, Denver, and in New York City. Past tense, they've already done it. They're running around in New York on motorcycles, these gang guys, in New York City. And this is common in many poor countries. You'll see it in Central South America, Vietnam, Thailand, a lot of poor countries. They'll run around on a motorcycle, two on a motorcycle, okay? Some countries, to stop this, have said you can't have two on a motorcycle, you can only have one. Just, that's how bad it can get. And what they're doing in New York is the people are walking around and they're like, yeah, I'll bring home some bread and chicken. You want any wine, And they see them talking on an expensive phone. The guy on the back of the motorcycle gets off, runs over to them out of nowhere, grabs the phone, runs and gets back on the motorcycle. Now they're also taking jewelry and grabbing purses. So, if these phones, they say were turning up in Miami or something, but also a lot of these phones are being shipped to other countries, Venezuela and otherwise, where there's no control over stolen phones. They just buy a Venezuelan SIM card and drop it in, and they're off to the races. Now, if the phone is from some cell phone company in America that blocks it, in other words, you have to use like an AT&T SIM card or something like that, right? Then they have to actually go to work on the phone. But what's worse, so somebody's walking on the street, okay? The guy gets off the back of the bike, probably targeting women, young people, like, teenagers, grabs the phone, grabs the purse. If there's something on the neck, a necklace, rip, something they can rip off the wrist or a ring, they can't stay there. They got a few seconds to get it done and get back. So they're not gonna, do much. I haven't heard of them taking the women that wear these expensive $2, $3, $4, $5,000 shoes, Manalo, Blondnik, or whatever, taking their shoes. I haven't heard of that. But in the winter, they may start ripping fur coats and stuff. I don't know. Now, these phones will sell for up to $1,500 in these foreign countries. First of all, they're very difficult to even get in a place like Venezuela, and if you do, the taxes they put on it, the shipping, it's through the roof. Now, that's not your average cell phone. That's somebody that's probably got one of these phones that opens up, a very advanced, modern, feature-laden, expensive phone. The run-of-the-mill phones are probably worth $300 to $500 in another country, okay? The regular iPads and the Samsungs and things like that, okay. When they go to rip the phone, they really don't know what phone it is they're ripping. They want somebody that's displaying the phone, okay? Now, I have not heard them coming and presenting a gun. In some countries, they'll come on a motorcycle, usually not on a 70-mile-an-hour highway, that's a little hairy, but on a 35, 45-mile-an-hour road, they'll come up parallel to your car and point the gun at the car while they ride parallel to you in the next lane and tell you to give them the phone. And if you give them the phone, they drive away. I lived in another toilet country a long time ago, and I had bodyguards and armored vehicles. And this is a long, long time ago. And they tried it one day, and my driver was one of the bodyguards, and he drew down on the motorcycle. He wasn't going to play this game with them. He took his gun out and pointed it at them, and they just hit the gas and drove away and started weaving through the traffic. He was giving them chase even. I think what he was going to do was bump them with the motorcycle. And we had an SUV, and we had another security guard in the back of the SUV. and I was armed, and they would have, if they pushed it, they would have been pushing up daisies, and in a lot of countries, they can't identify bullets, what gun it came from. They don't. They tell you they can. They really can't in many countries. So what would happen is they'd just drop a few bullets into the guy. The motorcycle would crash. Probably a car or two would run it over, and they just keep driving and forget about it. I was in one of these toilet countries, and they're a big police type installation, not a police station, something else they monitor. And some guy went over there, and it was gang territory where this police thing was in. So the cops are there with full automatic guns and little motorcycles, cars, whatever. And this guy came into the territory, I don't know, maybe 250, 300, not even, maybe 150, 200 yards away from where there was a heavy police concentration, and decided he wanted to rob people on the street. So he started committing some robberies, and what they would do, and this is typical of the gangs, and it would be Venezuela or every place from Mexico to Argentina. What they do, and it would be probably the same in Asian countries, the women get indoctrinated into these gangs and men, and the women have children. They usually don't have intact families, but they have children. When the children get to be 11, 12, the gangs start using them because they can't go to jail. So they'll start with having them control parking on the street and watching for police and see who's coming. And so the kids out on the street saw this robbery, and they went for help, and the gang members, probably pulled the hypodermics out of their arm and, grabbed their gun, got dressed, ran down there, and they found this guy. And what they do is they took all the clothes off the guy so he couldn't be identified. They just picked the body up, threw it in a car, and then what they do is they take the clothing off the guy and they just throw him out in a vacant lot or behind the garbage dumps or something like that, and they just leave him there. And then most of these countries, the police are not really capable of understanding or finding out who it is. They don't have good fingerprint records. The guy may not have his prints on file. He may be from another country. They don't have DNA. If they did, they wouldn't spend it. These are the things. Once there was an incident, in a lot of these countries, people are recreational motorcyclists. Okay, so they'll buy big Harleys and Suzukis or whatever, and they usually get together in groups, probably of at least a dozen, more likely 30, and they go on rides together, and they pack guns. They all pack guns because they know that they'll get attacked, because the motorcycles are worth many, many thousands of dollars. But if they're in a group and they're driving around, the gang would have to, if there's 25, the gang would not attack them with 10 people. They'd want to have 60 or 70, and they just don't have the ability to snap, organize, and find these people and interdict them. And, they also don't have motorcycles typically that are fast enough to catch these guys. These guys got big bikes, and the gangbangers are usually 150, 200 cc little bikes. Can't catch them. And if they do, they're going to have a gunfight. So there was a thing, I came by the aftermath once. There was a guy riding a very expensive bike. I don't think it was a Harley. I think it was like a top-end Suzuki or something like that, or, a Yamaha or something like that. And what they did is they just rode up behind this guy and shot him in the back. And obviously he crashed the motorcycle. And then they just went and got the motorcycle and drove it away, left them laying there. So a lot of these recreational motorcyclists, which are not gangsters, they have real jobs. They'll also wear a bulletproof vest when they go out in case these guys try to do that to them. I have not heard of them wearing Kevlar helmets. It probably never occurred to them. But typically, if they're going to do that, they'll ride right up to the back of the guy and just shoot him in the easy places, the back. So, anyway, these are your Venezuelan gangs. This is their mindset. Okay? This is how they roll. Okay? And they're out of 7 million that left Venezuela. It's rumored that most of them are in America now. So let's say it's not most of them. Let's say it's 2 million of them. Let's say it's 15%, 1 million of them. Do you understand? Sleeper agents have begun. These are not Muslim terrorists. These are crazy criminal gangs that are organized, funded, and now they're recruiting in Colorado and in New York Venezuelan, what they call migrants that came across the border illegally. Maybe they filed asylum, maybe they didn't, into the gang. Now these people are usually living in some shelter hotel or something, or apartments that the government's given them, and they're taking these places over and in New York and collecting rent from the people who are throwing them out. So it's tempting for these for these migrants to join with the gang. They got nothing going for themselves. They go into the gang, they're going to have to swear an oath of allegiance, give their life away, and so forth. But the police aren't doing much about it. I spoke to somebody in Connecticut recently, and they had a incident there. Now they had their Democrat politicians reduce the size of the police. So in the downtown metropolitan area where the businesses and the restaurants are a, expensive area, high-end, this is a high-end community. A bunch of gangbangers decided they wanted to go into this high-end restaurant and wreck it. So they went in there and they were throwing tables, hurting people, basically conducting a riot inside the restaurant. And the police department only had 2 cops on duty at that time of night for that downtown business district, which much of the businesses were closed. Just maybe an odd few shops, but restaurants, quite a few restaurants were open. People were sitting outside and everything. So they hurt people apparently, and they just made. And the cops got called, and they saw what was going on. There were only 2 of them. They didn't get out of the car. They drove away. New York City police are saying that they will do something about these Venezuelan gangs, but they haven't. So the governor called for the military to come in, so that's why these Marines and soldiers were there by these hotels. It wasn't really to be prepared for the Trump sentencing. It was because of this, and that was one of the hotels in question. The name of one of the hotels in New York is the Hotel Roosevelt, which is an older hotel. And New York City, to get them off the street, is making deals with the hotels and putting them in there. Now, I know many years ago, some of the wealthier communities in California and other places were nervous about homeless people, which were not coming from other countries. What they did is they set up a system. If you were homeless, you could get a hotel room every night for free. What you had to do was call a special homeless number, give them your name and social security number, which I understand was never checked. So you could say, my name is, Vladimir Putin, and my social security number is 222-555-1111 or whatever. And they wrote it down, and they told you what hotel to go to, and they gave you a reservation number. So they would tell the hotel this character's coming over. But they wouldn't let you check into the hotel until 4 or 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, something around 5 o'clock in the evening, and you had to be out at like 11 in the morning. So you had to leave the hotel in the morning, and then you could repeat the process the next day and get a hotel, and maybe a different hotel. Okay. You had your own room, or if you were a married couple, you had your own room as a couple. And what they did on Friday is, I think they allowed early check-in on Friday, maybe 3 o'clock or something like that. It's vague, my memory on this, I'm not sure. And then you didn't have to leave until Monday morning. So these people would have parties in the hotel. The hotel was all full of homeless people, and they'd turn the stereos on, leave the doors open, pass the drugs, pass the liquor, order pizzas, because they all were getting money aid and stuff like that. Maybe they didn't order pizzas, I don't know. But they'd have a party for the weekend. So this was designed to get the homeless people off the streets, so they're in there, they could take a shower, they could shave, wash their hair, they could even take clothes and wash them in the sink and hang them up, but they probably wouldn't dry in time. But the hotel may have had a laundromat. I have no idea about this stuff. And if you were there for the weekend and you came on Friday and you washed your clothes in the sink or the bathtub, it would be dry before you had to leave on Monday, even in the winter, I'm quite sure. So this is what was going on. I don't know if they were running prostitution out of there. Probably not. Homeless people are usually not prostitutes. If they're structured enough in their head to be a prostitute, they could just go to some strip club or massage parlor and ask for a job, and they wouldn't, they'd be on their feet in 24 hours, wouldn't be much, get a hotel and then, eventually transition to an apartment if they were stable enough, Prostitutes normally are not, in the old days, are not right in the head. There's something wrong with them, okay? Today, they've, built it up into a sex worker profession, and they try to give it a semblance of normalcy like they do with many other things in these countries today, but that's not normal behavior for a woman. A woman that goes into that is mentally severely unbalanced, okay? And if she's not, and she gets into it, she's going to become severely unbalanced. So I would think the vast majority of them are taking various kinds of drugs, from medical doctors and pharmacies to street drugs to alcohol. I don't think they can function without that. It's a pretty painful existence to do that. And now you have to consider, what about the $5,000 a night prostitutes for the elite? Again, these are women that just got their act together a little bit more than the other ones, and they're better looking, but they're not that much better looking. They have to take care of their weight and keep their nails clean. They can't have dirt under their nails. They can't have missing teeth. They can't have bad scars. They got to take care of their hair and stay clean. And they got to keep themselves going to doctors or the service that won't use them, and they make a tremendous amount of money, and they have to break into the elite clique, and they probably kick back a percentage to the service that runs them. It might be 25%, or it could be half. I don't know. A lot of times they don't even know what the client is paying because he pays the service and the service pays them. But $5,000 a night is not so unusual, and a lot of these characters will hire 4 or 5 of these women and take their friends and business associates out on their yacht and float around in the water with these women, or go someplace for a few days, and they just pay the bill. They're entertaining their business associates, their clients, their customers, you know. But these women will deteriorate mentally, you know. If they're not nuts, when they got to be nuts to go into it, you know. Then they have escorts, which their claim to fame is they work for an escort service and they're not prostitutes. They're just people want somebody to be seen with. Well, I don't think there's any escort service is going to want to bother with these women if they're not going to do prostitution on the side with these guys, you know. So, I mean, it's just nuts. So, the Venezuelans are starting with snatching from people walking on the streets and taking over these hotels and apartment complexes, and I promise you it's going to escalate. It's going to escalate to robbing stores and businesses. They're brutal, they're vicious, they're murderers. One killed a cop recently, I think it was Denver. They filmed it and walked up to the cop, parked in his car, and just shot him from the street. And they'll go into a restaurant. They'll go to a McDonald's, for instance, a Burger King, and they'll go in at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and just empty the 2, 3, or 4 registers out, and they'll walk out with a few $1,000s, which is fine with them. You know, the McDonald's guy probably has a safe on time lock, so they can't get it open even if they put a gun in the manager's mouth. And they empty the registers every so often, but in the rush hour of lunch, which starts about 11:30, and probably goes to 1:30, 2 o'clock, he's probably not emptying the registers out until after the crunch. So they know that. And they go in and, they could hit a Pizza Hut. They could, they're not looking to get $100,000. They're looking to get, then they could rob jewelry stores, sell the junk on the street. They may very well start pulling up next to cars, pointing a gun, give me the phone, give me your purse, give me your wallet, or I'll shoot you. Now, hurry up now, I'll kill you, They will probably try bank robberies for the heck of it, and they'll figure out, if they don't know it, that they're probably going to get more money from a very busy McDonald's or Burger King or KFC than they are from a bank. Because the banks don't keep much money in the trays that the tellers have. They'll get enough, but and it's risky. They got to take out a security guard, sign an alarm. Why bother? Go get a Burger King or a lunch place, or get the guy with the mobile lunch truck. Some of these guys are selling meals for $15, $25, and at the end of the day, that guy's got money, and he's not going to have a time lock safe in there. So they open the safe, give me all the money. That's not all the money. Crash, boom, bing, bang. Give me all the money, And, this is the direction it's going to go. Now, the New York City police are going to be able to do something about it. There's about 38,000 of them. And the gangs will shoot back at the police. They will engage them in gunfights. And then you're going to see a lot of the police not want to proceed and do this. Police are like mercenaries. They're bullies. They push people around, and they like going after bad guys when the odds are in their favor and when they have overwhelming numbers. But when they see the violence of these Venezuelans, and they haven't seen the Muslim terrorists yet, that's going to be as bad plus. They're not going to be too enthusiastic about engaging these guys in gunfights. That you're going to see they're not going to be very interested in it at all. Military, yeah, they're set up for it. You know, they train them, and, you know, the sergeant tells them, you know, boy, I think I could take you guys out and go kill a lot of the enemy, you know, and they're all psyched up to be murderers, and yeah, they'll engage them, and they'll probably win. So it's a real mess, and I would say with 99% certainty these Venezuelan gangs are going to start popping up in other cities. If they bear down on them, if New York City, let's say, really bears down on them, they'll just go hit another city. They'll pull out and go to another city. But how does New York City, or any city, when they take over a big hotel or an apartment complex, go in there because they have all these people living there as hostages? How do you do that? There really is no tactical solution. They could do what Putin did once. There was a concert hall where terrorists took it over, and they had a lot of Russian people, and they had AK-47s, and there was 6 or 8 of them, or 10 of them. It was, you know, the chances of them spraying the crowd and killing dozens of people were very high. So what Putin's people did is they put a very dangerous but highly potent and fast-acting knockout gas in the air vents. So it was dangerous in that some people weren't going to live through it. So it was not readily detectable by the time you knew you were falling down on the floor. So Putin knocked out everybody, the hostages and the terrorists, and some hostages died, not a lot, very small amount. And the others fell asleep, and when they woke up, they were all handcuffed in custody. So that's one way to do it, but will America use that approach? I would say never. So, okay, before we go deeper, let me get into the live stream and make sure we got sound and picture. And then we'll move ahead. Okay. Make sure we got sound and picture. We got sound and picture. Someone posted in Spanish. I don't have the ability to understand all of it. It says, "This Jew no is a Semite, only a convert to Judaism, does not have a ancestral line to Judaism." I don't know what sobre means anymore. The Middle Orient. So he's a convert to Judaism. Okay, thank you for posting that. If somebody knows the better Spanish, they could put it up. I'm very rusty in Spanish. They do speak Spanish in Israel, some from people from Argentina, Argentinian Jews here. All right. Okay. Um, habla Anglic or English in live stream. Okay. No en español. Disculpe, no en español. English. Okay, let me put a couple of quick posts up in the chat very quickly, and then we'll do a deep dive and we'll cover Iran and a lot of other stuff. Okay. Almost done, guys. I'm going to put my email up in there and that'll be it. If anybody wants to send questions in or prayer requests, you certainly can do so. You can put them up in the chat or you can email it to me for more privacy. Just about finished. Okay, I'm done. Being a Bible believing site, I'm going to do some prayer. If you join in or you don't join in, that's entirely up to you. I have no control. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 All right. Before I get too deep into it, I do want to illuminate you into something about the year of redemption. Now, I assure you what you're going to see is me taking extreme pains to make sure I'm not giving this to you that someone might interpret as a prophecy. And I'm not trying to predict the day and the hour. I'm trying to read the signs given to us in the Bible so we know the seasons. That we're supposed to do. That's why we're told to watch. And then it says, lift up your head, your redemption draweth nigh. That's seeing the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds. Now, if I was going to give you a prophecy, it would, based on what, Jeremiah and Amos and Ezekiel and Isaiah would say, it would go like this. The word of the Lord came to me on the 23rd year of Netanyahu in the 4th month on the 8th day, and this is what he said. Okay? I've never done that. At this point in time, I'm not prophesying. I'm interpreting the prophets. So it's just Bible interpretation. Okay? And as you know, I've messed up a few times, and it always seems to get corrected by the Lord, doesn't it? So, there you have it. Okay? So, I'm not giving you a prophecy. What I'm doing here is teaching the prophecies of Israel. That's what I'm doing, along with other things. I teach about the law, I teach this and that, But predominantly the prophecies of Israel. That's what I'm teaching, okay? And let's go to Isaiah 61 and take a look at this in verse 1. The spirit, and that word is ruach, which means spirit, of Adonai Jehovah is upon me, because Jehovah has appointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. Now, Yeshua preached this in a synagogue when he was on earth. It's referencing Yeshua the Messiah, that's clear, okay? Good tidings to the meek. That's who's going to survive the 2/3 cut in Zechariah 13:8 and 9. The meek, the poor, the humble, the downtrodden, the bent over, this type of thing, right? He had sent me to bind up the brokenhearted. Well, everybody who's brokenhearted, raise your right hand. All the hands are gonna go up. To proclaim liberty to the captives. Now, let's talk about the word for captives. Shabbat. Those that are brought away. Okay, what he's talking about is liberty to those in exile. He's talking about Israel, to those that are in exile from Israel, in the captivity, which is way more Israelites, way more than those that are in Israel now. Okay, and the word for liberty is darar. Let's see what Strong's uses. Liberty, I'm not sure is the right word. Strong says to move rapidly. So what he's basically saying, contrary to the lousy English translations, is the brokenhearted to move rapidly. Well, where do you think they're moving to Israel? So it's talking about the next great Exodus. That's the captives, those that are in captivity, which is the diaspora, the dispersion amongst the nations. And then it says, and the opening of the prison. Well, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words for one Hebrew word. Let's see what it really means. Pekakach. Boy, they twisted this. It means an opening. The connotation would be opening of eyes or opening of a jail or a prison. And then it says to them that are bound. And the words them that are is added in. It would really say bound. And that word is 631, asar, and I think to say locked up in jail wouldn't be a bad translation. Probably the captivity would mean those in the diaspora, and this would mean open the prison, them that are bound. Could it mean? Let's go back. Yeah, it could mean delivered from jail. Okay, I think he's talking about Zechariah 9 with the pit, where Israel went, where Yeshua went to preach to them after he was killed, before he was resurrected. Now let's focus on 61:2. to proclaim the acceptable year. The word for acceptable is ratzon, which is the acceptable is not a great translation. It's the delightful, the favorable year is more like it. Now the word for year, here we go again. When you look at this here, it says it's Shana, which is the word for year. The 360-day, 12-month biblical year is called the Shana. But in the Hebrew, it doesn't say that. It says Shanat. That's the same year that got me confused previously, because I trusted not the text, I trusted, Brown, Driver, Briggs, Thayer. Well, I think Thayer's is New Testament, Strong's, and all that. And no, they were leaving vital facts out. The Shanat year is a period of time, sort of, kind of like a year, like. Let's say you were in the military, and let's say 15 months, and somebody said, how many years you've been in? I said, a year, Someone said, how many months are you in? You're not going to say a year, you'll say 15. Something like that. But you probably wouldn't respond and say, I'm in a year and 3 months. You'd just say, I'm in a year. Or, let's say you were living in an apartment for 14 months. Someone said, how long you live here? How many years you've been here? No, I've been here a year. It's a rough cut. It's not an exact precise year. It's a period kind of like, sort of like a year, but it's not a precision year. This is what goofed me up the last time. I didn't dig deep enough to catch their mistakes. So the acceptable, the pleasurable year, it's not a 360-day, 12-month year necessarily. It's a period around the year. So, well, how long are you going to go to Europe? Oh, I'll go there a year. Or you might say, I'll go there about a year. So you might stay 15 months, you might stay 11 months, but okay. So it could be more than a 360-day, 30-day month year. Okay, that's what got me last time. And the day, now the word for day is yom, which means day. That's your 24-hour day. That's your precise day. Oh, let me check that in the Hebrew. I didn't do that. I can do that real quick. Never take these English translations for granted. Oh, they're horrible. 61.2 Shanat Ratzon it's pleasurable to Jehovah is what it says. Pleasurable to Jehovah. Now, does that say that in the text? So let me go back. In the text, they say of Jehovah. It's to Jehovah. They're close, but no cigar, but close, right? Okay. Where was I? I gotta find my okay. Le Jehovah. It says and yom, va yom, which means and day. So yeah, it's a day. probably be reasonably translated as revenge or vengeance. Revenge, probably slightly better, but revenge and vengeance are like really close, just about the same, you know. Then it says to Elohim. To Elohim, and then it would really mean to sigh, or maybe feel better, to sigh or something, and then it says call, which means all. Next word, huh? Means to all, and then it really would say mourner. Mourners, like Mourners, mourners in the plural. So they're okay there. All right. So we need to go back into English. And it's saying, Spirit of Lord God is upon me, because Jehovah hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable, the pleasant year of Jehovah, and the day of vengeance. Okay, so the year is here, Shanat is not in the precise year, Shana. Let me check something on this here. Why am I not getting this? Try it this way. Okay. See, he's talking about bringing a lamb of the first year, and Leviticus 12:6, and that word is the Shanat word. See, that can mean you. What he's saying is you're bringing a lamb, not that's 360 days old precise. He's in his first year. You see, he's between his first and second year. Let's say if he's 14 months, he's in his first year. If he's 9 months, he's not in. Well, maybe the interpretation would be of the first 12 months. Now I'm getting into, and anyway, I'm trying to establish the meaning of this word. So if it was in the first year and he was 11 months or 9 months, it would still qualify. See, it's not an exact, precise term. Okay? That was Leviticus 12:6. Interesting. Okay? So let me go back here and look for something else that I may or may not. Why is this not working? I'm not getting it to open the keyboard. Anyway, I'm getting a malfunction here. A minor thing. I'm looking something up. I'm going as quick as I can, but you got to be so careful with the English, you know. Well, I'll just do this later on. Okay. So we did get a good explanation of that Shanat word versus Shanah. So, you know, the lamb of the first year, in his first year. So I imagine you got two possible interpretations. One is he's a year between 1 and 2 years old, or in his first year it's up to 12 months. So, but in any event, when you're using the Shanat word, you can see it's not a precision, accurate 360-day period. That's the point here. Okay, I'm going to take a fast break. We'll continue dissecting Isaiah 61 and then get back to more current events. I think that we would probably be talking about a lamb that's up to 12 months. If he was 13 months old, he'd be too old. But if he was 9 months or 10 months or 11 months, he'd be okay. See, so that's the Shanat word in action. If I was wrong, which I don't think I am, and it was actually means he had a year under his belt, he would really be in his second year, wouldn't he? But let's say that was the case, then it could be a lamb 13 months old or 15 or 16 months old, that kind of thing. So I made my point on the Shanat word. Now, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes. See, who's mourning in Zion? Okay. I'm not going to go through all of Zechariah 12, but that's the war that's coming on Israel now. It's more of a siege than a war. Zechariah 12:10, and I will pour upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplication. So now they're believers. He poured his spirit out on them, right? Supplications means they're praying. Takanun. Strong's puts it into earnest prayer. And they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. In that day shall there be a great mourning in Jerusalem as the mourning. Okay, well, this never happened when they killed Yeshua, obviously. This is the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds. Every eye shall see him, Revelation 1:7. He shall appear like lightning going from the east to the west. The sign of the Son of Man. And this is redemption. This is when the sun's going to go dark and the moon's going to go to blood. The beginning of the second 70 of Daniel 9:24. Daniel 9:24 does not say 70 weeks are upon your people in the holy city. It says 70. In every Hebrew manuscript, bar none, it says 70. They twisted this to sell Schofield to you. And not just Schofield, to sell you all the old, the Wycliffe, the Tyndale, all the old translations, which I'm sure the Catholics will be behind. So, 2 70s. They got to be like each other. The first 70 was a 70-year captivity in Babylon. The second 70 begins with redemption. It closes with the tribulation, the Gog and Magog. And that would be when the return of Yeshua comes. And based on the book of Joel, that's when the sun goes dark and the moon goes dark and the stars don't give their light. They fall from heaven as a fig from a tree. I know the church doesn't teach that. If they did, I would be afraid it was false. I'm serious. Great mourning in Jerusalem as the morning. Okay, so we covered that. So now we go back to Isaiah 61. And like I said, we're going to have the seasons. We're not going to get the day and the hour. You can't. But I'm not finished yet. that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes. Ashes are what they throw on themselves when they mourn. The oil of joy for mourning. The oil of joy I would interpret as the anointing. The garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness. My people's days will be like that of a tree. When Yeshua appears in the clouds, you see him. Before he appears, he pours his spirit out on those, the house of David, those in Jerusalem. So they're believers. John 6:40 says that those that believe that see him shall have everlasting life. Everlasting life is you'll be young again, like Malachi 4. You'll jump out of the stall like the calf. And that's right after they see the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his extremities. You know, I've covered this so many times. My people's days shall be like that of a tree. You don't have immortality. You get that when you're in New Jerusalem and you eat the tree of life and drink of the water of life. There's no death in New Jerusalem, it says. The planting of Jehovah, that he might be glorified. And they shall build the old wastes, they shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities, the desolations of many generations. So we're building the old stuff up, which doesn't lend itself to Iran landing 6,000 missiles inside Israel, does it? No, it doesn't. And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the alien, the foreigners, shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. I told you you'll have slaves or some kind of servants. The word could mean either one. But you shall be named the Kohanim, the priests of Jehovah. Men shall call you the ministers of Elohim. You shall eat the rich. You shall eat. Does that say eat for real? Maybe not. Burn up, consume. Eat, consume. Consume the riches of the goyim, of the heathen, and in their glory shall you boast yourselves. In their riches, their wealth that you get. For your shame, you shall have double. We get a double portion. We had a double punishment 2,000 years. Hosea 6:1-2, we get a double portion. And for confusion, they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore, in their land, they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy, that's your everlasting life right there, shall be unto them. For I, Jehovah, love judgment. I hate robbery. For burnt offerings. See, that's the Jews were ripping each other off, scamming each other on equal weights and measures, moving boundary lines, suing the poor in the court, all this stuff. And then they would buy a nice animal and go offer it to the Lord, and he says he hates that. And that won't be tolerated anymore. In truth, I will make an everlasting covenant, everlasting life, everlasting covenant, got it? with them. And their seed shall be known among the heathen, and their offspring among the people, and that see them shall acknowledge them. Arise, shine, that means emanate forth, raise a light, like Moses did when he was on Mount Sinai with the glory of God of Israel, and they had to put a veil over him. That's how you be. Arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord has risen upon thee. Darkness has covered the earth, gross darkness the people. Isaiah 60, that came from. That they are the seed which the Lord hath blessed. I will greatly rejoice in Jehovah. My soul shall be joyful in my God, for he hath clothed me with the garment of salvation. Salvation. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, as a bride adorn herself with her jewels. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causes the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so shall Adonai Jehovah will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the heathen nations. So you don't know the precise hour or day that the flower is going to bud forth, do you? No. But you know the season, right? The acceptable year is very much referencing a Jubilee year, in my opinion. It could be the year of redemption, not the Jubilee year, but the year of redemption is so much like a Jubilee year. Every man goes back to his family, and every man gets his inheritance back. What's the inheritance? The land he gave to his fathers, to our fathers. That's what happens in the year of redemption, and that's what would happen in the Jubilee year. So 3 times the day of vengeance was mentioned. In Isaiah 34:8, it's tied to the year of recompenses, which is the Shanat word. So it's not a precise 360-day year, like the lamb in the first year. It's the same word, Shanat. And the day of vengeance, which is a day, is tied to that. And then in Isaiah 34, the first, verse 3 or 4 or 2, it talks about associating the year. Let's read it. Verse 1, Isaiah 34:1. Come near, you heathens, to hear, and hearken, you people. Let the earth, Haaretz, hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation, that would be the anger, of Jehovah is upon all heathen nations, all the Goyim, and his fury upon all their armies. Curious, the church is basically teaching Israel's going to get punished and slaughtered, calling us the synagogue of Satan and everything, and they're going to be raptured up to heaven and then come down from heaven and reign over us with a rod of iron. There's 0 scripture support. Nowhere in the Bible is there anything that can even be loosely interpreted as the church going up to heaven for 7 years and then coming down again. It's nonsense. It's like asking me to disprove Mickey Mouse is not an apostle. Well, it never says anything close to Mickey Mouse being an apostle. How do I disprove it? It's just simply not in the Bible. Is upon all nations, and his fury is upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. So when it says in Jeremiah 30:11, he's going to destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into, now we have a clue that stupid me just picked up on right now. If he's going to destroy all the armies, then I imagine much of this destruction of the nations will be from the wars. Have you heard any rumors of wars lately? He hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of the carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And all the host of heaven shall be dissolved. Now this is the end of Gog and Magog. And the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth from the vine, and as a falling fig from the tree. This is the end of the second 70. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Edomir, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. I think Edomir would be Jordan. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of the lamb, and goats with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Edomir. And the unicorns shall come down with them, the bullock with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance, and the year of recompense is for the controversy of Zion. The controversy word would better be translated strife, the fighting over Zion, Israel. So, the day of vengeance is associated with the acceptable year. The year of recompense is year of redemption. Why didn't he call it the year of redemption? Why did he call it the acceptable year? See, that's the clue, I think. You see, redemption is a one-off event. The Jubilee year, the acceptable year, or the pleasant year, is a repeated event. So I am beginning to look at this and think that the year of redemption probably lines up with the Jubilee year. When that is rather impossible to tell with the cycles, but we know when the new year starts, and that would probably, well, I'm most certain it would start someplace in the third or fourth week of February 2025. And that could give us possibly maybe, did I say maybe? Maybe it gives us an indication of roughly when this is going to happen. You can't predict what day you're going to see the new moon sliver. So you could be off by a day or so. So that means you're not going to get the day or the hour, but you're going to get the season. Now, when the new moon is seen and we know the new year is there, could that actually mean, boom, it happened there in the sky? Well, the sun wouldn't be going dark when you see the new moon. It's dark out. But it could happen, 8, 10, 12 hours later. Or the next day or something. I don't know. That, I think, is a reasonably intelligent guesstimate as to where we're at time-wise. September, October, November, December, January, February, about 5.5-ish months, something like that. And that would fit with the Shanat of recompenses, which is a rough year, like with the lamb. So it doesn't have to be 12 months. It could be 18 months from when I told you. The Lord told me that around August 10th, 2023. And that Shanat word was what I bungled. Okay. Let me go check the chat for anything that's taking a question or something like that. Abba is Adonai. Abba means father. Adonai means Lord, but his name is Jehovah. Okay. It's not really prophecy when you wrote the story to benefit yourself. I don't know what story you're talking about that I wrote. Moshe is the goat. Oh, I'm the scapegoat. Okay. That doesn't sound like you're trying to be nice. No, I wouldn't interpret it Elohim as angels. Yearling within a year? I don't think so. Okay. So we recovered 6 bodies of hostages that were killed. Probably they're saying 24, 48 hours after Netanyahu's announcement that he wasn't going to give up the Rafah crossing. We can't give that up because that's how Egypt smuggled all the concrete and steel for roughly 400 miles of tunnels, along with thousands and thousands of missiles, missile launchers, material to build missiles, machines, so forth. I estimate to transport all that stuff in from Egypt would have taken 10,000 large trucks. So Egypt's our enemy. Period. Nothing to talk about. The tensions are high in Israel, and they're calling for greater retaliations against Hamas, which will transfer to Hezbollah also. All right, now they scheduled a strike today in Israel where they went to Is.61’2’, which is the big labor union, which has about 800,000 people in it in Israel. All kinds of stores, government offices, it's loaded. But a lot of the people in Israel didn't go for the strike. The people up in the north by Lebanon didn't go for the strike because they can't move home. And in my area, they didn't go for the strike. They think this whole thing is stupid. No, they're not. They're not supporting it. Some of Israel is striking today, and a lot of Israel isn't. My area is not. And now we're getting counter protests appearing in Jerusalem where they're saying, no, we don't want to, make a deal to get the hostages back no matter what. No, they're saying that they want to prosecute the war harder. They want to push the war harder, and they're protesting for that now. We don't know how many of the hostages are alive, if any. We don't know anything. They could have 5 hostages. We don't know. We can't go make a deal to save an indeterminate amount of hostages, if there even are any, by agreeing to forever leave Gaza and let them start bringing weapons in again from Egypt, which would be fairly immediate. And seriously, within 2 weeks, we'd be getting attacked with rockets again. Maybe 3 weeks, a month, something like that, but it wouldn't take very long, believe me. I've got to make a fast call to get some bird food, or our birds are going to file a written complaint because they don't like the food they're getting right now. We ran out of some bird seed. This will take a couple of seconds, I think. I need to get some bird stuff today. Yeah, it's called NutriBird. The original. And what size is that? How many kilo? How many? 3? Okay, that's good. And may as well send 20 cans of the natural too. Oh, did you get that natural dry food yet, or it's too early in the day? Oh, Wednesday now. Okay. All right. All right. It's not you, it's them. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so he'll come today with the bird and the natural, right? Yeah. Okay, it'll be today because we're stuck. We need it. Okay? All right. Toda rabah. Bye bye. All right, guys. Sorry that was a complication. My big dogs, they're not getting their dry food. We're having some issues with it. This happened before the war too, every now and then. Okay, so they want more revenge in Israel now. They want to punish Hamas. You see, Hamas, we're getting, and we're not getting this official. In other words, the Mossad or the Shin Bet or the military intelligence are not telling us this, but this is what we're picking up. That Sinwar, the head of Hamas, has a lot of hostages handcuffed together, and he keeps them near him. So we're afraid to bomb the buildings he's in. Now, this hasn't changed where, I was going to say, let's go kill the hostages. Okay, they're not going to do that. But rest assured, the Israeli military and the Shin Bet's like the FBI, it's like an intelligence police agency that operates in Israel, the West Bank, Gaza, stuff like that. In other words, they don't operate in Australia or Germany. The Mossad works outside the country, but I'm sure inside. So the Mossad, the Shin Bet, military intelligence, are very intelligent, creative people, and they will come up with something to really hurt Hamas. And I mean really hurt Hamas. We're not going to give Gaza back to them and have a reenactment of October 7th. Forget that. They're not going to do that. The people, the families of the hostages are in misery and agony. Are they dead? Are they alive? Is my daughter being raped every day? Are they getting tortured? And they got a one-track mind. It's understandable. And the one-track mind is, I want those hostages back. Do whatever you have to, Netanyahu, to get them back. Why the Israelis have not figured out that going after the families of the hostages, whatever in the world they are, and taking them hostage might work. It probably wouldn't work completely, but it might work. It would discourage the taking of more hostages, which Hezbollah wants to do that badly up at the north, but they're not going to get it. They're not going to get a chance. So also then we had a terrorist attack in Israel because Hamas has been calling for their followers, members in the West Bank to do suicide attacks on the Israelis. So somebody took down 3 police officers and killed them. So we've got in a row the 6 dead hostages, and now we got 3 dead policemen and other attempts. So Israel is very upset, and Israel is going to bear down harder on Hamas. Now, America's telling us again, as of last night or yesterday, Iran could attack Israel any day. Now, what's wrong with this picture with America? Let me explain it to you. America says we'll defend Israel, and they will wholeheartedly attempt to take down the missiles. But this is exactly what you want to do if you want to see Israel beaten down, see the people of Israel fearful, and make Israel more submissive to the United States. What is the correct thing to do? What would Trump do? Trump would say, as soon as the first missile is fired, I'm going to launch my F-22s, followed by F-15s, followed by F-35s, followed by cruise missiles on Iran. Would that work? What do you think? If Trump was here and Trump said that, would Iran still launch against Israel? You know they wouldn't. Biden doesn't care if we get pelted with missiles. But I read you the scripture. The destruction's not going to happen. Okay? Biden wants to punish Israel. He wants to scare Israel. Why? Because he wants the war stopped if he can get away with it. He wants Israel to give Gaza back to the Muslim terrorists to kill us again. Okay? And he wants not only that, he wants Israel so scared that they give the West Bank back to the Muslim terrorists so they could attack us the next time from the West Bank and Gaza and Lebanon and Syria and hopefully wipe us out. At the same time, and don't get this wrong at all, the Biden administration wants to knock out Iran, not just as a distraction for the September 18th sentencing of Trump to jail. They planned this attack on Iran a long time. They had to provoke Iran to get Iran to do outrageous things, attacking Israel the second time. If the missiles actually start landing in Israel too, will give them their provocation. Plus the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Administration, has said that Iran has been increasing their amount of uranium nuclear materials. And I keep telling you that will be part of the alibi, or the whole alibi, for attacking Iran. If we don't attack Iran, or if we didn't attack Iran, Iran would be sending nuclear weapons to Israel, to America, either on ships or smuggling dirty bombs in or whatever, you know. This stuff's not real, but that's what the party line is going to go out, and it's going to be believable. It will come right from the White House. Well, they're going to get, it's in prophecy, Jeremiah 49, the last, I don't know, 6 or so verses. It says Elam. Elam is comprised of pieces of Iran, Iraq, and Syria. That was an old country that doesn't exist today. And Iraq and Syria are puppets of Iran, so they're all going to go. You know, it's almost like saying Puerto Rico's a puppet of the United States or the U.S. Virgin Islands. It's almost like that, or Guam or something like that. But those are officially incorporated in. Ukraine is like Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthi. They're a puppet of Iran. Oh, there'll be a war in Russia. Now, my thinking is if they're going to have the way the enemies in the Biden administration are going to get rid of Trump, lock, stock, and barrel, is get him locked up. And that could lead to an assassination, which has been tried twice, I understand, on Trump. Although we don't know exactly who did it, we could guess, of course. So, you know, in my opinion, they're going to possibly use the Iran war and a war on Russia as a distraction before the September 18th sentencing of Trump, or on the day or shortly thereafter, to get everybody in America severely distracted away from the Trump debacle. And I wouldn't be surprised, I can't say this will happen, if somebody suicides Trump. There's similar shades of Epstein, you know. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but I mean, I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me at all. Then they rid themselves of Trump once and for all. Trump's pretty resilient and has big legal teams and creating novel interpretations of the law in his favor that seem to be working. So he might be able to stop the sentencing, or he may be able to use the federal high court, Supreme Court, or appellate court to let him finish his election out. And then when they say, yeah, but even if you win, you're still going to have to go to jail, how can you run the country? He'll say, when I win, I'll just pardon myself. See, it's been examined by constitutional lawyer experts that there is no prohibition in the Constitution against the president, pardoning himself. It would violate nothing in the Constitution. You could occur. And they wouldn't be able to go back and create any, find a point of law that he violated and nullify it. What the Congress could do if they hated this, which I doubt they ever would be pass a constitutional amendment that says the president is not allowed to pardon himself, or maybe him and his immediate family. I have no idea. But such a law doesn't exist, and I doubt they would pass such a law. But that's what it would take. And if they pass the law, they can't, in America, it's unconstitutional to make a retroactive law. So Trump's pardon would still work. They'd have to pass a constitutional amendment before Trump was sworn in that says, "Thou shalt not pardon thyself," and I don't think it's going to go anywhere in that area. So, this is, so you can imagine Trump's in a jail cell somewhere, and they come, either they'd have to release him to get sworn in. With a prison suit and handcuffs on or something, and Trump would go for it. Don't think he wouldn't. He'd put his hands on the Bible, and then as soon as he was sworn in, one of his people would be standing there with a pardon. He'd turn around and sign it, and his lawyers would show up in the New York State court or the federal court and order his immediate release. He'd never go back to jail. It'd be the end of it right there. And people would love him for this. They'd love him. Once Trump said he could run for Prime Minister of Israel and win, and I don't know if he said win, I think he did, and he would. But that just shows that the Israeli people are not really smart, when it comes to these things. They don't understand Europe, and not every one of them, but many of them don't understand America and Europe. They go there, what do they know? Well, I know, Disney World, I know Dollywood, I know Legoland, I know the Statue of Liberty, I know Miami Beach, I know Beverly Hills, I know Great America, I know, stuff like that, but they don't know America. They'll go to Yosemite, they'll go to the big zoos, they'll go to the botanical gardens, they'll go shopping, but do they know America? No, they don't know. Now, there are Israelis that spent many years living in America, and do they know America? Probably, but there's not that many of them. There's a lot of Israelis that only speak Hebrew, and there's a lot of these people that don't leave Israel. I'm serious. I've met Israelis that never left Israel. Why? I'll tell you why, but it's sad. Because they take advantage of people in Israel that don't speak fluent Hebrew with the right accents and everything the way they do. That's a sign to take advantage of these people, right? And they're afraid that'll happen to them outside of Israel. So where's that leave you? That takes you to Zechariah 13, verse 8 and 9. 2/3 will be cut off and die, and the 1/3 will be raised up. The dross will be burned out of them, and all of that, and they'll serve the Lord. It's sad, it really is. They sue each other in court, they scam and fraud each other, and this and that. Some of them behave like children, too. So, this is Israel. It's extremely difficult place to be in. We're seeing prices come down a little bit, actually. Not a lot, but a little. Interesting. I don't understand why. Maybe we're getting alternative sources of supply for imports. I'm not sure. But things are definitely wild here. Things are definitely wild. Um, I can't begin to tell you what they're going to do to turn the heat up on Hamas. I don't know. I could create ideas, but I don't know what they're going to do. I'm not sure, but I think they got that Netanyahu finally has Biden in his court against Hamas. Does that mean America will attack Hamas? Oh, forget that. That's never going to happen. Are they going to tell Israel cut the humanitarian aid and bring the war to an end fast, which would work? No, they won't do that. The Muslim terrorist-oriented publications, social media, are saying that Jordan is being pulled over to Iran's side now. Do I think this is true? I think this is likely true because Jordan is composed of Ammon and Edom. I'm sorry, Moab. Ammon, northern Jordan, and Moab, the rest of Jordan moving south. Edom appears strongly in the scriptures to be Yemen, which is also referred to at one point in time as Sheba, but I believe it's Yemen. Edom is Yemen. So yeah, now something you probably don't know is there's likely perhaps a few hundred people that are believers that live in Jordan, typically around Ammon, which is the capital, which is northern Jordan, because they know Jordan is part of Israel, and they can't stay in Israel because the government won't give them permission to stay here. A lot of them feel they're Jewish or Israeli, and they can't prove it to the satisfaction of the government. And this is very, very likely the truth in a lot of cases, I believe. The lineage goes through the father, not the mother. The rabbis twisted it and said it goes through the mother. So if you had a non-Jewish mother and a Jewish father, the Israeli government would say you're not Jewish, where the law and the Bible says you are. So that could be happening. I've met some of these people. It's a very scary move to pull this off, because you don't know what's going to happen. Ammon actually makes peace with Israel at some point and thrives and gets along well with Israel and prospers. Whether or not these people know that, I have no idea. I don't think they do, but they might. So their thought would be when redemption comes and Yeshua appears in the clouds, which I doubt they know about, but some might, they're going to be already in Israel because Jordan becomes part of Israel, so they're already there. They don't have to go travel Israel. It's an interesting concept. I don't recommend it. There's a lot of nasty Muslims that hate Israelites, Jews, Christians, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists, whatever. And it's not a good idea to be there, and I believe it's a Sharia law country. It's a Muslim majority country. It's a rough concept. I mean, you could go to Kenya, the same thing, it's in Greater Israel. And there's a lot of English spoken in Kenya, and go live in Kenya, and you could say the same thing, when Yeshua appears in the clouds, boom, the wars will come on and we'll capture the land back in maybe a few months or weeks or some of the delay, but you'll be already in Israel, Kenya is this sort of calm, quiet place, relatively speaking, now anyway. I don't advocate that, I don't suggest it. Now, the Lord may suggest to somebody that they go live in Kenya. This is, entirely possible. I have no idea one way or the other if anybody do that. someone asked me for legal advice about some property grab theft, and I read their email and I can't find it. I don't know if I answered them, but I did contact the lawyer, and the lawyer can't help them because they're in the wrong state and it would be a bar violation. And I don't know what to tell this person, but if this person wants to submit another prayer request to me, send it in and I'll put it out for the people. I don't think my role here is as a legal representative. I'm certainly not a lawyer, and I have no idea about how these laws work in that state or probably any other state. So I reached out to somebody, but they can't help you. And the only thing I could do is what I'm supposed to do, put a prayer request out for that. And I could do spiritual warfare if you want, or we all can, just let me know. So I hope you hear this. I was looking for your email yesterday to answer you, and I was having trouble finding it, so I don't know where it is. So I'm not ignoring you, and I did try to get some help, but I'm unable to. I would need to know a lawyer in your state, and I have no knowledge of any lawyer in your state, so I can't. I'm of no help to you there, other than prayers and spiritual warfare, and I'll be glad to unleash the spiritual warriors in the group on whoever you want me to unleash them on, and they'll be more than happy. So, and we will see Jordan turn against us. We'll see Saudi Arabia to some extent turn against us. Turkey, Egypt already we're seeing. You're going to see all of this stuff. Egypt's getting very angry at Israel because they don't want us back in the Philadelphia corridor by Rafah in South Gaza. They don't want us back in there. They want to fill Gaza up with weapons, earn a buck doing it, corruption, and they don't care how many Israeli lives get killed. By all the devices brought in by Egypt. So Egypt's going to get more and more animated. They're saying, we don't want any Israeli soldiers staying in Rafah. As if, well, that'd be like Israel saying, we don't want any Egyptian soldiers by the border of Gaza. Egypt won't pay attention. Why should Israel? And Israel won't pay attention to that. Attacks in Hezbollah still continue. Let's see if we got any recent news updates in social media. I'm not going to go through the publications. The best news is social media. That's what I find. My wife's gone to work and started making me the perfect French fries that I like. She makes them in little cubes. She has some from red potatoes and some from white potatoes. And she gets them cooked just right with the right amount of grease on them. And it's really nice. So, what's going on with Telegram? Telegram is saying it's updating, and it's not saying it updated. And why would that be? I am not sure. Let me reopen the program and see if it changed. No. Let's check the internet. It shows that it's on. Let's see if I can pull the website with it, just for the heck of it. Yeah, rather quickly too. So I don't know why Telegram's acting cantankerous. No idea. They're misbehaving. Telegram. I have no idea why this is doing this. I'll just let it ride its course. It'll probably resolve itself. So I don't know how Russia's recovering from that big drone attack that Ukraine laid on them yesterday. Or actually, it might have been, no, I think it was on Sunday, Israel time on Sunday. So, things are getting heated in the Middle East, and they're going to blow up, and Russia and Ukraine is. It's obvious NATO wants to take out Russia. They're afraid of Russia, and Russia, they've crossed every Russian red line. Russia's done nothing. I don't see anything that makes me think right now that China's going to attack Taiwan, Japan, and North Korea attack South Korea, although we do know that America moved all their aircraft carriers out of the Asia area, probably withdrawing them back to America. And they've also taken all their destroyers and other naval vessels, including aircraft carriers, out away from the Persian Gulf, kind of by the Indian Ocean, Sea of Oman, and they're out of the Red Sea as well. So these aircraft carriers are very difficult. Any big Navy boat is very difficult to defend against a hypersonic anti-ship missile, and they can hit the ships, and they have hit the ships, and America doesn't want to lose. Okay, it updated. America doesn't want to lose its aircraft carriers. 5,000, I think sometimes they can have 8,000 on there. Thousands of crew members, and they lose a lot of aircraft, and they don't want it. So they can launch planes from a safe distance out of the range of the anti-ship missiles, which I think is maybe 100, 200 miles or something like that at most. It might be 50 miles. I don't even know. It's not how far the American anti-ship missiles are going to go, it's how far the Iranian anti-ship missiles are going to go. And it could likely be there, maybe 100 miles or 50 miles, I don't know. You can't listen to what the Iranians say, because they'll say they have a transcontinental ballistic anti-ship missile, and they could launch a missile from Tehran and hit an American aircraft carrier in San Diego. They'll tell you anything if you're dumb enough to believe them. Right now, Israel is bearing down hard in the West Bank to get the terrorists out of there. A great big operation, and as of last night, they killed 17 terrorists. And there must be many thousands of them, so I don't know what they're trying to hand us, I don't know what they're trying to tell us, but Brazil is banning Twitter, which is now called X, and Elon Musk is threatening to expose the crimes of some judge that approved banning The U.S. informed Egypt and Qatar, these are the negotiators for Hamas, about Biden's intention to present Israel and Hamas with a take it or leave it deal. The wording that will be presented in the proposal will be final, which means that if the parties refuse to accept it, it will mark the end of the U.S.-led negotiations, which tells me the war in Iran approaches against Iran. A car bomb was neutralized at the entrance to the settlement at Tarat in the Benjamin area of West Bank. So they're getting more and more sick over there, the terrorists. And the non-Hezbollah parliament in Lebanon is blaming Israel for the trouble. You got to be a psychotic to believe that. Hezbollah just attacked us out of the cold because we counterattacked Hamas after they killed so many people. You know, this psychotic behavior. These people are criminally insane. We found a terrorist enclave in a school. In the West Bank, we're starting to go into the hospitals because that's where these terrorists like to set up shop in Gaza. Two Hezbollah terrorists were killed in a vehicle in South Lebanon. Israel keeps attacking Lebanon every day, whittling them down. What is this? I would say with 95% certainty that the proposal coming from Biden, the take it or leave it, is not going to be acceptable to Hamas at all. What Hamas wants, Biden couldn't in a million years pass off as something he's striving for. It's so absurd. You might maybe see Netanyahu say, "Oh, I'll agree to this," knowing Hamas won't, and making Hamas look like the bad guys. But I'm not so sure you'll see that happen. So that's basically what I got for today. So I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing of our bodies. Pray for better videos. Pray for our finances. Thank you for those that give offerings. Pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. They're all rescues. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And feel free to do spiritual warfare on the enemies of anybody you consider your enemy, Israel, whatever. But you can't pray against God's will or do spiritual warfare against God's will. You have to understand that. So today I came in slightly over 2 hours. I don't have any food, Yafa, sorry. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. Please hit the like button. It takes you 2 seconds. And you may want to subscribe if you want more updates and get a lot of news faster here than you're probably getting from other sources. And I'm out. Thank you.